Hi there and welcome back to Lab 4. In the previous video we looked at setting up very basic simple OSPF between Calgary and Vancouver. I showed you the config that you needed to do that and showed you the routing tables once we'd actually formed those adjacencies and proved that we could ping between office networks. So we're going to do exactly the same thing for Toronto and Montreal, but we're going to do it in a slightly different way. We're going to enable OSPF on the actual interfaces rather than the configuration mode. I'm going to show you that shortly, just to show you another way that you can configure OSPF. This is actually not in the CCNA, but in real world situations a lot of people actually prefer this particular method, so I'm going to show it you anyway, just to give you a feel for something that you might actually see in a real world environment. So let's go into the Montreal router, go into global configuration mode. This time we're going to create the process router OSPF1, but instead of using the network statement to identify which networks we want advertised into OSPF, what we're going to do is I do show IP in brief. I'll just bring up the map a little bit. So what we want is the link between Montreal and Calgary and the link between Toronto and Montreal. So this network and this network, and we'll actually use we'll go ahead and use the loopback address and do the same thing on that too. So basically what we're going to do, instead of the network commands which I showed you previously, we're going to go into the actual individual interfaces. So let's go into fast Ethernet 0/0, and the command is IP OSPF. I hit the question mark. See a whole bunch of different options in here. The one we want is just the process ID, which is 1, and the area, which is 0, and that's it. I feel that this gives you a little bit more control actually than going into the global configuration mode, and many people, including myself, actually prefer this method. So we're going to do the same on this interface here. So interface fast Ethernet 2/0, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. IP OSPF 1 area 0, and the same for the loopback address as well. IP OSPF 1 area 0. Okay, so that's Montreal configured. I haven't actually configured Calgary to send out OSPF hello packets on these links yet, so I will need to do that before the adjacencies actually come up. Let's bring up the Toronto router. Oops, if I can. There we go. And we'll move into configuration mode, and again we'll set the router OSPF 1 process up, come back out, and let's go into interface. In fact, do show IP in brief first. Okay, and then we'll go into the first interface, which is fast Ethernet 1/0, IP OSPF 1 area 0, and then we're going to go into interface. You can just jump straight from here. So interface fast Ethernet 2/0, and we'll do the same thing, and now interface loopback, and you can see the adjacencies actually come up. One second. And what we'll do is we'll just pop across to the Calgary router and make sure that we're actually configured for OSPF on those links. Do show run in this case. So currently we have 10.1.1.2 and the loopback address advertised. So show IP int brief. We're just missing this particular IP, this particular network, and this particular network, so we'll add those also. And to do this, we'll just do it in the way that we did it previously. So router OSPF 1, and we'll do network wildcard mask, which of course you don't need, or you don't see that element of it in the when you're enabling on the interface itself. You don't have to mess with wildcard masks. Area 0. There we go, there's an adjacency come up. 10.1.2.1. And there's another adjacency. So the Calgary router's routing table should be a lot more interesting now. Show IP route. As you can see, there's a whole ton of OSPF networks that have been learned on the network now. In fact, everywhere on the network is aware of everywhere else now. We can ping to and from anywhere, which I'll prove to you shortly. If you just want to make this a little bit more clear, you can specify which protocol you want to show the routes for. So in this case, we'll just show OSPF routes, and you can see all the loopback addresses are in there, and an additional 10.1.4.0 network, which I think is on Montreal. So let's go over to, let's choose Montreal actually, and let's ping 192.168.2.1 from a source address of 192.168.3.1, which is Montreal. So we're actually pinging from Montreal all the way through to Vancouver. So from the Montreal office all the way through to the Vancouver office, we should be able to do. There we go. So 5 packets sent, 5 received, and we could do that from any point in the network. Actually, we now have a full state of the network. Everywhere can see everywhere. Everything's working great. No static routes needed. I just wanted to show you that you can actually enable OSPF on an interface, and not just in the global sort of OSPF configuration mode. You can actually do it per interface and be kind of very, very granular as to where you switch OSPF on. Personally, I prefer that method, but you probably won't see that in your CCNA. I just wanted to show it to you just in case you see it in a real world environment and you wonder, you know, why I didn't show you that. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.